So, welcoming to the podcast, the gorgeous Sidonie Smith today. Oh, Sid, it is such a joy, such a pleasure. I have been looking forward to this episode, this time with you for such a long time. And for listeners out there, it's kind of funny because Sid and I just spent like we were co-living for a while, but because we're both so busy doing what we love doing, we barely saw each other. So the irony that I had to sort of like invite you on the pod after you had like lived in our home. It's just the best. So I love that. But let's intro you properly. So Sidonie Smith began her career as a classically trained violist and award-winning young composer before following her true passion for the theater. She studied in the United States and later at the Joop van Ende Academy in Hamburg, Germany, and since then has built a career that spans borders and breaks barriers. She has starred in sister act as Dolores Van Cache across Switzerland, Austria, and Germany, and taken leading roles in productions such as Legally Blonde, Memphis, Jesus Christ Superstar, and Chicago. She has also made her concert debut at London's Royal Albert Hall and appears on a Scott Allen live recording alongside Broadway's Best. Today, Sidonie leads the UK and international tour of The Bodyguard in the role Whitney Houston made iconic, a full circle moment in a journey that shows the power of following your calling with courage and persistence. Welcome, welcome, Sidonie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, darling, it is so exciting. There is so much in here, and I'm like, how can we get all of this across in only 60 minutes? But you know what? We're just gonna like stretch time.
Let's give it a try. Why
Let's
not?
do this. Let's do this. I'm going to do something super untraditional because I just told you before the podcast, I always go back in time, but I'm actually going to start us right here where we're at now. So I know you are currently on tour, and thank you so much for gracing us with your amazing persona and presence during your UK tour of The Bodyguard. Tell us a little bit about how this is a full circle moment, because I remember you mentioning you've done this one before. We are revisiting the same and yet not the same. How is that? Where you're at?
It really is same, but different. So when I first saw this production of The Bodyguard, I was in London. I was in town for like 3 days, and one of my heroes was playing the lead, and so I wanted to see her in person. And we came out, and I thought it was amazing. And I didn't know if the show would ever come to Germany, but then it did. And that was about 10 years ago. I auditioned, and I was part of the cast in Cologne and part of the cast in Stuttgart, two cities in Germany. And I was in a position called walk-in, which meant that I was kind of an on-call for the leads. There's two female leads in the show. So I did that for about 3 years. And then as shows happen, it was over one day. You know, your contract comes to its end and you're thankful and you release it. And I didn't expect anybody to knock on my door about The Bodyguard again, especially not in another country, in another language. But it turns out they were looking, and so I did hear from somebody from casting, and I did the whole thing where you send in tapes and you come in person, and you have a few rounds. And next thing I knew, I was playing this role that I love in English for the first time. And so that's why it's same, but different. And it's important to highlight that, it's been 10 years. So I'm a different actress, I'm a different human being. So it's really a gift to get to kind of come home to a role I know in the version of me that feels most comfortable.
My God, I love this so much. And I think also like you just highlighted the fact that it's in your mother tongue, right? Because you're originally from the States, and then
Right.
you've been, and I know you're based in Germany, and I know that you've spent so many years on stage performing in German. So to sort of come home, but in your own mother tongue as well, right? There must be something really very special about it. Because I know for a fact, so I'm from Denmark originally, and so I've been over here 24 years, and I always communicate in English, but my first mother tongue, like the first sound that I communicated, it was in Danish. And when you do that, it weighs differently within you, right? It has a different gravity to it.
Mhm. It's
Wow.
really true. I mean, after all these years in Germany, like I took to the German language very quickly and love it with my heart. However, still very often you'll find me saying phrases like thank you or I love you in English just because it comes straight out of my gut.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't know how to say danke or ich liebe dich. It's just that there's no translation there. And those things are so important to me when I'm thanking someone or telling someone that I really love them. Um, Yeah, something about a native language is just so connected to who you are at your like core.
Absolutely, I totally agree. So it's sort of like beyond performance,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
agree. Okay, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that amazing full circle moment. And it's so juicy that 10 years ago you were over here looking like sitting amongst the audience going,
Yeah.
that is where I want
Wow.
to go. Like, wow, right? And then, 10 years, and then obviously you had the experience in Germany doing it, and then coming over here now, 10 years later. So beautiful. Ah, well, with all of that, so now that we know where you're at now let's go back to the beginning. So, Sid, where were you born, and what kind of family system were you born into?
I was born in Miami, Florida. I have a Jamaican mom and an African American dad, so multi-ethnic in that sense. And so I grew up as an American who had a bit of an outside perspective because we were also an immigrant family. So in a way, I think it gave me kind of a very healthy distance to like national identity because mine was kind of blended in its way. So I felt very much American, but I also felt like I was observing America in my way because parts of my family were doing that. And as you know, my life turned out that I ended up living somewhere else. I think that the immigrant experience started very early for me, even though I grew up in, in the country that I was born in, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it totally makes sense. And can I just ask, do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have two brothers, yes.
And are they older than you?
I'm in the middle.
You're in the
Yeah.
middle.
Yeah.
Ah, middle child.
Yeah.
Yay. And your parents, were they still together when you were growing up? Are they still together now?
They aren't anymore. They split when I was a young teenager. So that was, of course, kind of a crazy time. I was in high school, and we were shifting locations and living here and there, and just trying to make everything work. My mom was a teacher for many years, and I remember because how the school system is set up in the United States. At the time of the divorce, my mom was teaching elementary school, my brother was in middle school, and I was in high school. So the time schedules were nuts. They all had to get me to school at 7, even though she didn't start until 9:30 and he didn't start until 11, I believe. So it was kind of a tumultuous time, but you make things work.
100%. And I think something I'm already picking up that's going across as a theme in your life is your ability to sort of observe and also participate at the same time. Like these sort of multi layers,
Yeah.
multi layers, like, I am American and yet I'm also observing what it's like to come in as an immigrant, not just through my lineage of my parent, of my mom, etc. But even just the experience of then choosing to go to Germany when you got that opportunity later on in life too. So once again, you became the observer of the observer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Multifaceted, it's so
Mhm.
multidimensional, and I think it's an important one to point out already in our early beginning of our podcast today, because I think it actually sets the foundation for understanding why you, at a very young age, began playing violin. Tell us about that. So, how did that come about?
Well, my family isn't an artsy family. However, my mom just kind of had this intrinsic belief that every child should take piano lessons. That was just something that I guess was instilled in her in Jamaica growing up. And so I did. When I was 4, I started taking piano lessons, and my mom didn't feel like I was practicing enough, so we stopped that. But I remember one day when she told me, um, I had a chance to go to a brand new school, and at that school, they do dance, drama, music, and art. And she asked me if I was interested, and I said, sure. And it was a really special school, as it turned out, because it's what we call magnet schools in the United States. Um, you basically take classes in these fine arts departments while you're doing your traditional school subjects, and then when you turn 9, you pick a track. And funnily enough, I chose drama. At 9 years old, I wanted to do drama. And my mom said, no. She said, you're going to do music because when you do music, everybody gets a part. And
Wow.
I can see in my handwriting that sheet because you had to rank them. And I know I ranked drama first, and she undid it for me and told me that I'm going to do music. And I did struggle with that for years because I desperately wanted to dance as a child. Like I wanted to be in dance lessons, and I wanted to do theater. But my mom felt like I was too shy and that I would be too broken by not getting the parts. And you know what? Who knows? She knew me. She was the adult in the situation. But it kind of turned my path toward music. And that's where I picked up my first violin. That's where we took daily piano lessons, violin in a group, um, recorder, and we sang. And then as I got older, that narrowed more and more into just being an orchestral musician.
Mm. But it's also like it's just so juicy, that moment of like first, your mom is like, such a, such a compass, in a way, going like, no, no, like all children should have piano lessons. So you do it. And then what you mentioned was like she noticed I wasn't playing enough, right? And so she's like, hey, we're gonna do this other thing.
Mhm.
And then you're like, I want to do drama. And your mom is like, no, you're going to do music because, and again, from the most beautiful part, right? Like well meaning, wanted to make sure that you were supported and looked after. But like that statement you just said, like in music, everybody gets a part. And, and in the career, in the area, in the world of performance, everyone wants to have a part, right?
Yeah.
And well, as listeners out there, whether you're into arts, performing arts or not, whether you're in the audience or you're participating, etc. I think everyone can relate to that thing of wanting to be chosen, wanting,
Yes.
right? Wanting desperately to be chosen. We all want, because when we are chosen, then we belong, and if we belong, it means we're part of the group, right? So
Yeah.
it's such a deep, deep desire we can all relate to. But just those words, like, they made my whole body like shiver. And so at 9, you're like, I want to do drama, I want to dance, like I've got all of this, I need to express it out. And your mom's so beautiful. It's like she doesn't want her child to go through the same pain that I'm sure she went through, right? So those
Yeah.
words, like in music, everyone gets chosen, right? Like so beautiful. And then you go ahead and you choose one of the most difficult instruments in the world. I love that. When I read your bio, I was like, whoa.
Because
Violin.
why not? And my mom says she doesn't remember the beginning parts. A lot of parents are not open to their kids learning violin because the beginning is rough. Like
Right?
it's very loud, it's very scratchy, it's a lot. I think my mom must have blocked it. She doesn't remember. Thankfully for her. But we all stuck it out, and yeah, there are so many key moments. I remember a moment in a class where I had the thought, I was like, I'm good at this. I can I can literally remember what note I was playing. Like I know I was playing an F natural with second finger. Like, and I was like, I'm good at this. And it was just a little internal thought. It wasn't something I declared to the class or to the world, but I was like, uh-huh, this is something I can do. Um, yeah, and so I made it my everything. I started to compose as a young child. I started writing orchestral scores, and it was just kind of my world. I was definitely dedicated academically. I was doing my best to excel and achieve and all that stuff, but I was all in when it came to, the orchestra, violin and viola.
I love that. And so you're there, you're all in, it's almost like the whispers of the drama and the dance, they're kind of like they've taken a sidestep, they're kind of in the background, in the side wing. What changes? How old are you when something starts to change?
You know what? When I look back,
Mm.
it didn't really take the sidestep I thought it was at the time, because in hindsight, everything is so obvious. Um, so I continued going to fine arts schools and magnet schools, and that means all around me there were so many like literal prodigies. There were children playing the piano at levels that don't make sense. There were students writing their own plays that were like challenging and witty and amazing. And the thing is, I was attending everything. And when I say I went to, while I was like writing my own orchestral scores and doing the thing, if there was a dance concert on, I went every evening. If there was a show happening, a musical happening, and I didn't happen to be playing in the orchestra for it, I didn't go once. I went every evening that I could. And so there was something in me that desperately wanted to be part of these things too. I thought I was just supporting. I
Mm.
thought it's kind of like when you're kind of falling for someone and you realize, I'm going to ask them, I hope they're doing good today. I'm going to write them today. You know, that kind of thing. And when you look back, you're like, oh, I'm so into them. It's obvious. It's obvious. I was so into theater. Um, and but when it really clicked, when like my brain caught up with my soul, was in college. I was a senior. I had accepted a Viola scholarship at a really fine institution, and everything was going well. I was prepping for my first recital, my junior recital, as I was, already a senior, and I was sitting in an orchestra rehearsal and getting a correction, and for the first time, I didn't care as deeply as I usually did, and it wasn't rebellion, it was a realization. I was like, "Why doesn't this he wants me to make a change, the conductor. Why doesn't it matter to me like it usually does? What is happening in me? What does this mean? Okay, I need to think about this. One, I'm not currently in the middle of symphony rehearsal. Note to self, come back to this. This is important. um, yeah, and I had to really sit with myself and realize that, to make money on the side, I was playing a lot of musical theater orchestra pit gigs, how it's easier to make a little money working inside of the arts than like trying to find something, some cashier, like restaurant type job. It's just too hard to combine with university. It was for me anyway. Um, but I realized that I was playing these orchestra pit gigs for musical theater, and I would memorize my score so that I could be watching. I was looking up and watching the whole show, and I knew not even turning pages, I knew the whole score, and I was like, Sid, you need to try this. And it was like a light went on and I knew that it was time to move. It was almost like my first immigration because this was my whole world. But I was like, I gotta pack my shit and move
Mm.
because I obviously want to try this.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and so I did something that people at the time found really unwise, but it was just the right thing for me. Um, I wanted to own my time again and be able to take classes in drama. I wanted to take dance finally on my own terms because I was paying for it and I was the boss, you know?
And
Um,
can I just
I,
quickly ask, how old were you at this point?
I was 20.
Okay, amazing.
I
Yeah.
was 20.
Mm.
Um, I, so in order to make time in my schedule to take more drama class, I had to play in fewer ensembles, which meant I had to give up my scholarship. Because
Mm.
part of the deal was, in order to get the money, I had to be taking lessons and be in so many, major ensembles at the school. And so I had to do everything officially. I had to go into the office and speak with the dean and let them know, listen, I'm changing my path here. I don't think that, um, I think that why, in this time I have left at the university,
Mm.
with a beautiful college of music, but also an incredible school of drama next door. I need to take this opportunity.
Mm.
And some professors were very kind about it. Some professors were highly disappointed and let me know that. Some people told me I was throwing away my life, and that I would never be cast. That's a literal quote from someone. We really have to be careful. I'm really thankful to the younger version of myself for clocking that, as that person's own, that was kind of their own issue, um, and not taking it to heart. We really have to be careful when people are like kind of operating in their highest selves, in their dreams, that we don't kind of pile our own things onto them. But some people were supportive, some people weren't, but it didn't really matter. I was full steam ahead. And so I gave back my scholarship and I started to take every class I could to kind of fuel me toward my new dream.
Love this. And I'm just going to pause for a quick question. At this point in time, were you still living with your mom or had you moved out?
I had moved out. So when I
Right.
was 17, I graduated when I was 17 and I moved about 8 hours away, still in Florida, because Florida is enormous. um, yeah, it literally is a straight line 8 hours away.
You go 30 minutes to the east in Copenhagen and you're like out of the country.
Exactly.
So, 30
Yeah,
minutes you're out of the country, north, south, east, west. You're like 8 hours in Florida, you're still in the
you're,
Florida.
you're still in Florida. So yeah, I was out of my parents' house, and my mom at this point was very much. go with the flow. She's like, if that's what you want to do, you know? So it was what I wanted to do. So I started taking lots of drama classes, and I started looking for master's degrees in musical theater and finding ways to learn and grow in this new area.
And I love that. And I'm just sitting here applauding. The only reason why I'm not clapping is because it's going to be so loud for you listeners. But anyway, no, but this is really important, juicy wisdom, because again, just to make it relatable to everyone, is all amazing following well-meaning parents, mentors' advice, right? And then it's all also amazing starting to notice, okay, I might be really good at this, or maybe I'm someone who can just dedicate so much that I will make it work. But then to have the ability to still get quiet enough to listen to what's going on within yourself enough, and then not just listen to that, but then create a financial space and even physically move away, whether or not you were aware of it at 17, but you breaking free of an old sense of identity, right? And then also financially you were supporting yourself at this point, right? And this is such a juicy, important thing to say, because one thing is to all of a sudden change paths and having to look yourself in the mirror and everyone else that was behind you that helped you get and to become who you are today, and turn around to old version of self plus all the rest and go, this is no longer me. I don't know who I am, but I'm going in, I'm just sort of like following blindly a little bit, but just letting my heart guide me now, right? But we cannot, like, it's almost impossible to do that if we are not financially, at least to a certain degree, independent. And I think this is a really important ringtone, because a lot of the time it's like, it's already so hard if you emotionally are going, okay, I'm gonna shift gears, right? But if you're also still staying at your parents and you're like, well, I'm kind of living on their grounds, right? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so I just think it's a really important fact, because similar to me, I moved not only out of home, but I moved country when I was 16 by myself, right? And it's like, it wasn't until I started to, find that sense of independence within myself, where I was like, okay, I have no idea really where I'm going, but I know where I'm not going. And I know, and similar to you, like, even if I have to, it's kind of like the classic story, like I barely ate, but like I knew where my money was going. The little money that I did earn, I was super proud of, and I poured them into all of my dance classes. Like, that for me was abundance. I knew what I was willing and ready to invest in. So I just want to kind of like highlight that, because I think so often that's something where we're like, oh, but wouldn't it be great if someone could have paid for you? Actually, maybe no.
Maybe not.
Actually, really not. No. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, I think, you are 8 hours away, having that physical distance, and then also the fact that you started to financially support yourself, right? I think those are some really big things here that actually help you to empower yourself to make the decision.
100%. I think that a lot of times, even as I look to bigger and bigger dreams, it's those things, it's the young Sid and the things that I made happen that have given me the confidence to know I can make this work. I will figure it out. If I figured it out with $100, I can figure it out with $1,000, you know?
Oh, I love that. And oh, I love that so much, right? Because that's exactly it. Like, I have flashbacks to moments of like the first time I remember. So I was at the Royal Danish Ballet. So as a kid, we did receive little paychecks from the Royal Danish Ballet because we were on stage, but that was different. I was still living at home. But then at 16, being in London by myself, and my first paycheck wasn't even a check, it was in cash. I received £50 from a modeling job, right? I was so proud of myself. I can tell you, it was Whitechapel, it was East London, it was dirty, it was messy, there were people everywhere, and there I stood opening my special reward envelope with my £50 cash, and I felt so proud of myself. I was like, oh, I shall build an empire. It was like this moment, power to the people. But and it's exactly the same thing as you. I so often go back and I chat with her, and I'm like, wow, if Josie at 16 could like just kind of leave everything behind that she had ever known, and was so proud and so grateful for her £50 and poured her heart and soul into her £50 and all of that, then Josie at 39 will figure out whatever the next step is.
Right, that's right.
Okay, back to you. Sorry. Oh, amazing, gorgeous moments, and also nice sort of synchronicity between us, which I really appreciate. Okay, my lovely. So here you are. You have, which is so incredible, said no to your scholarship, said no to all these teachers, all these mentors, even the person who was like, you will never get cast, i.e., you will never get chosen, kind of just what your mom had said, you know? If you leave music, you will not get chosen. So then what happens?
So, I attend grad school in Florida, and there is something that a lot of us are taught, definitely in the Western world, that we, in order to do something as a career, you must have studied it. You must have an official certificate or a degree or whatever. And that made a lot of sense to me because I had gained a lot through study. When you're a violinist, you sit in a practice room for hours on end, 6 hours a day. If you can manage it, maybe it's your job to work on your craft. And so the thing that made the most sense to me was to go to grad school. But as life would have it, there was one day I was in my acting class and something occurred which I thought was a workshop. I thought someone was there just to like teach a little bit of a belting workshop, and belting is a specific vocal technique. And I was like, great, because I have so much I want to learn and I have all these big goals. And it turned out it was an audition. And so through that little audition,
Mhm.
follow me here, I was invited to study at a 3-week program in the south of Germany. And the program still exists, and it's called IPAI, International Performing Arts Institute. And it was their inaugural year. I didn't even know that, but it was founded by two American actors, a couple who also had worked on stage in Germany in opera and musical theater, and they were bringing university students over to study with some of the best teachers. Like, so the situation that we often find in school is that you kind of, within your cohort or your class, you kind of have roles that you all play. There's somebody who's the good dancer or someone who's the best actor, and you have this kind of like hierarchy and this weird thing. But the best thing is to shake all that up and be in a new location that is inspiring. We were in the Alps, and to come together with teachers from all over the country, people who don't know you, people who don't know you as the good this or the bad this or the whatever, and like reinvent yourself. And so I attended that program. Yeah, I found the money, which was, you know, obstacle number one. I found the money to attend that program. And in that 3 weeks, I ended up getting an offer to study in Hamburg. So I never did finish my master's degree. And I learned that that is not as important as I thought it was. It didn't inhibit me from having a career. And it's not that I didn't learn things in the 2 semesters I was in grad school. It's just that I saw the next open door that was for me. And it's kind of, life is about those portals. I was like, that's the next one, let's go. So I was invited to study in Hamburg, and school was starting in 2 weeks. So I finished that 3-week program, flew home, sold my earthly goods,
Oh my God.
and got on a plane and moved to a country where I didn't have an apartment or speak the language. I was like, let's go.
My God. I love that. Wow.
Yeah, that was
How
step
old,
next.
how old were you then?
Then I was 25.
Wow. 25 is also such a pivotal moment. It's because, you're kind of like, you're grooving into your 20s. And in late teens, I remember all I wanted to do was be in my 20s. And then
Mhm.
once you're in your early 20s, all I wanted to do was be in my mid 20s. And then in your mid 20s, you're kind of like, hey, hang on.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Now we're moving way too close to 30, and 30 is old. So around 25, at least for me, it's definitely that time where you're kind of like, you're reflecting, you're like, I feel like stuff needs to happen
whoa.
before I get even closer to
30.
30,
Wow.
right? Which is so hilarious. Okay,
Yeah.
so I love it. So here you are. You are 25, and I just love this incredible courage that you time and time and time and time again, not just show yourself, but demonstrate, like path the way, give permission to everyone else. Like, wow, you did not even speak the language, and here you are arriving into Germany. Okay, so how is that?
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was so hard. It was so cold. Imagine my little Floridian self. I had no concept of like actual warm clothes. It's so sad, but I thought if it was a boot, then that's warm. Oh no, ma'am. No, 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 no. Like there are kinds of boots. There are types of boots. I thought if it was a sweater, it was warm. No. So I had some assistants. People helped me out. Like, come with me, little Floridian. I'll show you how to dress so you don't freeze to the bone here. It was quite a shock because at that point, I had done a bit of professional work, not a ton, but I had worked, and then all of a sudden I found myself back in school,
Hmm.
taking classes that I used to teach because I was taking them in German.
Mm.
It was grounding, it was humbling, it was uh, incredibly challenging because I had to kind of make my way in this new language. It was demanding because the school that I attended was housed within the biggest production company in Germany. And so we kind of called it a fishbowl because the whole building was kind of glass. And so you were taking class at 8 a.m., you were in ballet, but like the casting directors of stage entertainment were like a wall away, a
Mm.
glass wall away in many cases. So it was high pressure, it was exhilarating. I had wonderful people around me. So many people came to my aid and helped me like answered my questions about grammar and answered my questions about geography and just getting around and living and it was an exhilarating, difficult, wonderful time.
My God, I love it. And how long were you there for?
I spent 2 semesters at that academy before I got my first job.
And what was your first job?
My first job was in a show called Buddy, the Buddy Holly story, and it was in a city called Essen in Germany. It was my first like contract. I was so proud, and it was like an early rock sort of musical. There's a lot of very very famous Buddy Holly songs. We all have them in our ear, even if we don't know them for sure. But um, yeah, it was just amazing to think I had done it. Like I'm doing my first job in Germany in musical theater. I have a full-time contract. Let's go.
My God, I love it. And it's also so body as in like remember my Danish brain, so as in similar to the body,
Oh no, buddy, like a friend,
like a
like
friend,
buddy.
like Buddy.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
you. Because I'm
yeah,
sitting here
Buddy
and
Holly.
sound wise, I just keep doing this whole thing where I'm like, oh wow, you were like embodying everything, like
Ah,
everything that you were learning, like, and then your first
oh.
job is called Body, which is kind of like the body. I was like, wow, I love this. I love this concept. Okay, so that was your first job.
Yeah.
When did Berlin come about? Because I know you moved to Berlin, right? Was this later on?
Berlin happened a bit later because for a while I was just kind of following the contracts. I moved to Vienna, so I lived in Austria for 3 years, and I knew I didn't want to do that forever, like always pick up everything and move, but I wanted to find my city first, before
Mm.
I bought a piano and books, and heavy things.
And I love,
So
and I love that by the way that your symbol of home is like me buying a piano because it's so heavy. Oh my
yeah,
God, we've had this chat before. I
yeah,
remember. You know how I always
like
like, I don't have any furniture because I'm like, hey, you never know when you're picking up everything again. I loved
yeah,
it. So yeah, for you, like home symbolized is symbolic of the piano. I love it.
piano.
So I
I
know that
If I can't carry it by myself,
I got you.
let's
And so
go.
it's like, well, you could even live inside the grand piano, so big. But also, like, if I one day receive a WhatsApp from you with a photo of the grand piano, you found your home. You found the
Yes,
city. I got you. I love that. Okay. So anyway, so you moved around. You lived in all these different places, and then after Vienna, where did you go then?
after Vienna, I was in LA for a short spell. Um, Goodness, I came back. I was near Frankfurt. It's hard to keep track. Sometimes I need
Yeah, that's
to
fine.
make a list, but like Berlin happened about 2018, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and one of my favorite things about Berlin is that I was there during the pandemic
Mm.
and I kind of got to know it really intimately, especially the area in which I live. Like because, we weren't traveling far. We were kind of getting to know our neighborhoods and our parks and, and as things opened up, the businesses that thrive in our communities, we were supporting them,
Mm.
um, and helping them to kind of get their legs back after a really, really huge, crazy time. But yeah, I finally found the city that I wanted to stay in. Funnily enough, because Hamburg was my first home in Germany, I
Mm.
really tried to make it the place for me. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I have no complaints about Hamburg, but it's once again like falling in love. It was just not,
Mm.
there was nothing wrong, but it was like,
Mm,
this is not it. This is not it. And I really,
mm,
I found an apartment that I loved. I had
mm,
community. It was
mm,
central, but
mm.
it didn't click. It clicked for me in Berlin.
I love that for you so much. It's so beautiful. And I also think it's really interesting because it's this thing of like, listen, everyone is so different, right? As you know as well as I do, I am crazy in love with what I do, right? What I do is who I am. There's no separation, you know? And so it's this thing of like, but when I used to be on stage a lot, right? Similar thing, you know, I've left literally like left family holidays because like last minute got a job in Istanbul, right? And you know, bye mom. And you're there nodding because we get it, like, you
Yeah.
know, poor families. But this was always it. For me, was it home has always been kind of wherever my passion went, right? Like home was the
Yeah.
stage, home was, you know, the not even the goal, but home was the pursuit of the falling in love, of the passion that kept flowing, and wherever that was flowing, that's where I was going, and somehow I'm rhyming, right? But you know, I think it's like it's a really interesting thing because like you have really embodied that journey. Like I, you know, as you know, I came to London and I, this has been my base for the past 24 years. And yes, I continue to travel around, but it's for me, I still return back. Like I'm drawn back to London time and time again. And it's really beautiful to see you being so fully immersed in the, well, this thing is flowing over here, so that's where I'm going, you know?
Yeah.
Completely, you know, sort of doing that. And so my question to you is, because again, home is where your heart is, right? And so home is never a physical spot, but is home for you the stage, or is it, yeah, define to us listeners, what is home for you, Sid?
It's a very interesting
It's a very
question
intimate
because,
question.
as you know, as the years go by, I mean, you've been gone for 24 years from the place that you grew up. Um, you start to go back and feel slightly like a stranger. Every now and then someone will ask you where your accent is from, and you're like, "What do you mean my accent? You know, I'm from right here. What are you talking about?" Um, and it's a weird phenomenon. If you haven't experienced searching for words in your own native language, we're not being pretentious. It really, it really is a thing. And so what I've decided, because what I do, I'm in love with it, but it can be very much all-consuming, and in a business where you do have to be chosen, I've decided that home is me. Like, I want it to be inside of me. I want it to be the thing I carry, whether I am on the poster or not. You know, whether I'm at the top of the cast list or in the middle or in the bottom, or if I didn't get it, you know? So home is wherever I happen to be. And that is an attitude that's serving me, especially on tour, because sometimes we're moving every 7 days. Like, there are open suitcases all around this room. I will not turn this camera around, but you know, we are doing our last show in this location tonight, and we move on. We go to Oxford soon, which is a beautiful thing. But like, in order to feel centered, I've got to carry like that stillness of home and that like comfort inside of myself.
100%. And also in between jobs, right? Because you know you're going to finish this tour,
Mm.
and on one hand, you know, I spoke to a good friend of mine from the Royal Danish Ballet a few weeks ago, and I always share with him because exactly like you said, you know, we grew up in a world, and you still live so much in that world where, like you said, in order to not only make a living but also to you know to be in your full expression of what you came on this planet to do, you have to be chosen, and then and then on the even deeper level, you have to choose yourself every day, right? So regardless
Ooh.
of whether or not someone else is choosing you, how do you, actually this will be your question to you, so in between work, how do you choose yourself every day in between your work? Because once you have your work, if you got the job, whether it was the dream job, the in-between job, the, well, I'm still grateful I'm making some money job, right? You know,
Mhm.
whatever scale we're on there, right? What are some of the things that you do where you feel like I'm still choosing me, even without the label of the role or a sense of identity, because now I have this contract?
I really have found a sense of grounding in the fact that, well, say for example, in this production, I have done this show in 3 iterations. I did it in Cologne as the walk-in cover, I did it in Stuttgart as the walk-in cover, and in the UK, I'm starring in it. However, I am the same woman. I
Mm.
wasn't less good in Cologne.
Mm.
You know, it just so happens I was chosen 3 times, but I was chosen in different positions.
Mm.
Um, and I have not arrived now because they picked me.
Mm.
And literally, you know, we evolve, but the skill set, the humanity, I'm the same person. It's one of the things that people, it's important to me in the way that I relate to everyone I'm working with, like, you know, my amazing alternates, my I didn't want to call her my alternate, the incredible actress who plays alternate Rachel. So on in the matinees, she plays. I am not on in the evening because I'm better than she is. We are just currently in this constellation. And so I am not better than former Sid. You know, I am not better than the person who um knocks on my dressing room door and exchanges the, the bin or whatever. We are just in the constellation that we happen to be in, and it's so grounding and it's so affirming because we don't always get chosen. And that's okay, and we have to believe that that's part of the path too, you know? In music, everybody gets a part. But in theater, you don't always get a part, and it doesn't mean anything about you. One of my favorite actresses says this about reviews. I personally don't read reviews because I find them distracting. Even when they're positive, I find it very distracting. She says, if you believe them when they say you're great, you have to believe them when they say you're terrible. And I was like, amen. Word. You know, I am confident in what I do and what I bring to the table. I am open to the criticisms of those that I work with so that I can make it more of what the vision is. Um, but as I'm growing and changing, I'm not growing and changing in better or worse. I'm becoming more aligned. But yeah, that's what I want to get at. Like that I really honor the versions of me that almost got this, you
Mm.
know? Um, because I'm still her, you know? I just a little bit farther down the line.
Oh my God, I love that. And I also something that I really, really, really appreciate about you, and I think it's such a great way to articulate your life experience, but also to yeah, just sort of reflect and to feel the sense of again embodiment that keeps coming to me when we're talking. Is this way that you keep bringing in former versions of you. We have former versions. We have early sit days, and then in early sit in sit time, right? And then we also have future sit, right? And
Mhm.
present sit. And I love that she's all here.
Yeah.
And this way that you're saying you're describing the person you are today in a way, you're even more in love with who you were earlier as well. Not putting
Yeah.
anyone on a pedestal, but actually like bringing them all together, right? Bringing them all in. And then as we both know, how we see ourselves is how we see the world. How we feel
Mhm.
about ourselves is how we feel about other people, right? And so I just think this is such a beautiful way to sort of dance with life. I'm absolutely in love with this Sid. Oh, Sid, actually, let's bring in future Sid. I know, hard. So future Sid, what's going on with future Sid?
Ooh, I think I'm in the middle of creating a vision for my future. I was thinking about it a lot, falling asleep last night, which I'm doing better at falling asleep thanks to you tonight. I'm getting better. Josephine is a genius at just releasing and going to sleep, and so I'm trying to like absorb that from her. um, yeah, I'm crafting the thoughts around where I want to be artistically and what sort of moves I'd be open to because I really am not. Sometimes I get the question in interviews if I'm going to do a show in Germany next. I don't know. I don't know. I'm open to it. And I'm also open to working more in my native language because it's thrilling. It's thrilling to be home in that way, you know. Um, Speaking in my most natural dialect. And I I don't know 100%. I think I'm in the middle of forming that and seeing what feels good for chapter next.
I absolutely love this. And it also just demonstrates how present you are. And you're, we can only be present if we have created enough presence and enough safety within our own body, within our own nervous system to actually be like, ah, let me exhale, let me root down into the here and now, and let me just get delightfully excited about just getting curious about what's opening up and what opportunities actually feel joyful, actually feel like, yes, this is a full bodied yes, this is me stepping in.
Yeah.
You know how you said like doors open, portal opens, and when you were at school and you were like, actually, no, it's not about finishing this thing, like this portal has opened and I'm going, right? And it's really interesting because this is another thing that you and I have, have in common. Like, I left the Royal Danish Ballet. Okay, not because a portal particularly felt like it was opening. It felt like everything was falling down on top of
Right.
me. But my point was, I could have stayed there and gone, don't worry, I'm going to hold the ceiling. Which is normally my default at the time was always to be like, I'll just, because again, out of the world, the general gist of performing arts, especially ballet, has always been like, if something is not going your way, work harder, right? Rehearse
You
more,
said it.
right?
You
And
said it.
so
Oh.
to me at 15, going when I felt like the whole world was crumbling down, after like years and years of trying to hold it, to finally go, I'm out, was literally, anyway. So I know
So brave. It was so brave. And it doesn't, there's no shame to anyone who can't do that, in their 40s and 50s, but there's some people that take a lifetime to be able to say, I'm out. And that is so brave of you, what you've done
oh my God,
at
thank you.
15.
Said oh my God, love, I'm getting goosebumps. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Because I think again, for listeners out there, this is such a beautiful thing because it's something that Sid and I, we both share in common, this thing of like, when you know, but you won't know until you know, and you can't force it and no one else can tell you. But when you know,
Yeah.
and then you act and you go.
Right.
And you go even if the whole world is sort of against it, or it's like, what's up? Or,
What are you doing?
what are you doing? Right? And all of that. And it's like, and like you said, it's like choosing a completely different route, choosing the complete unknown,
Mhm.
choosing to let go of what perhaps is everyone else's dream, perhaps even former version of you was your dream, right? And trust me, like little Josie was like, what the fuck? Sorry, my language. What the fuck do you think you're doing? We have like,
We worked so hard for
we're so
this.
hard for this, right? But that thing of like, I'm choosing me. I'm choosing my joy, and my joy is not this anymore. And I don't know what it is, but I know it's not that.
Yeah,
Right?
that's it.
And so the same thing, you like you having the capacity, ability to go, home is me. And also Josie, future Sid is going, well, she's in the making and I'm enjoying the process. I'm in love with the pursuit. I'm in love with the everyday deliciousness of just sitting in myself, in my wisdom, in my experiences, in the richness of everything that I have already had the joy and the honor to experience at this moment in my life, and just sit there with eyes wide open. And I know you're Cancer, right? You're Cancer, sister.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, this goes to little Cancer with the big eyes, like, oh, what's out there in the big world? but Cancer loves home, but it's like, but I'm here in my home, but I'm gonna stick my head out every now and then and just check in. And then when the sun streams down through the water, I'll know it's time.
Right.
But until then, I'm homing in. I love it, Sid. Amazing. Okay, my love, I want to ask you. So, you've already shared a lot of incredible wisdom with us, which is just so beautiful and just so, inspiring on all levels and so heartfelt. But if there was just one or two messages for humanity, with the wisdom that you sit in now, with now looking back, and as we know, when we look back over our life, all of the dots connect. It connects, what our moms went through, what our dads went through, what our, grandparents went through, everything that they went through so that we could have a chance to have a choice to be where we are now. When you look at
Yeah.
all of that, if there's just one or two messages where you're like, this is what I would like to share with the world, what would it be?
I think a kind of complex lesson that I learn and relearn throughout my life is that sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is choose yourself. It's paradoxical, but I find it to be so true. So a little story. So I have a dear auntie that I love very much. And when I was given up my scholarship and basically ending my pursuit of a full-time career in the orchestral world, she was so devastated. We were at Thanksgiving and she was crying from her gut. And I once again I come from an immigrant family. I come from a minority family in the United States. And if you think back to the history, like I am to have a young woman who is, prepared to take the classical strings world by storm is the absolute wildest dream of my forefathers. Like imagine like an enslaved person in the United States. I don't think it was even imaginable. And I was telling this auntie of mine, I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna give that up. And she was like, no. And for me, that was the most honest, there were people out there saying, no, don't do theater, you'll never get cast, you'll never get work. She was like, you're it, you've achieved it. Please don't do this, Um, and I love her dearly. And I couldn't promise her that I knew what I was doing because you never know. Um, but she is so incredibly proud, even though she advised me away from what I wanted to do that day. And my sense of compassion wanted to comfort her, wanted to compromise and say, oh, well then it's okay. I'll make it my minor instead of my major, and I'll figure it out, for us, for the culture, for for the family, for, uh, um, but would have been the wrong decision because I knew in my gut what I needed to do. And it was the most self-compassionate thing. And also for the person that I love that was feeling hurt by my decision to stick to it and do the thing, to do exactly what was right for me. And I've learned that lesson in many different ways. And even it happens on stage sometimes where, rather than um, a dance partner just the other day was like, in the salsa, Sid, can you push against me more? You know? And we did it again last night, and it's so much better. It's so much tighter because I am not like relaxed and being kind to him, but I am giving him pressure, and it looks so much better. It feels so much better. Sometimes when you think you're doing the compassionate thing for the next person, it's not the best choice. Sometimes the most compassionate thing is to go straight ahead and do what you need to do.
Oh my God. I love that so much. I loved it so much. Oh my God. Thank you so, so, so much, Sid, for letting the world see you more and more and more of you. I love that. And it is so true, right? And it feels so counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
So counterintuitive. But especially that dance metaphor is actually just so powerful. It's so powerful because it's so true. I just went to my first Argentinian tango class the other day. Woo!
Ooh.
And I've never done an Argentinian tango in my life. And I dance with all these amazing people that have done it for a long, long time. And the guy I was dancing with was like, push into me, exactly the same thing, right? And I pushed into him, and the more I could push into him, the more he could sense where I was. And now we have this amazing give and take, right? And if there's a give and take, it's kind of similar. If you're standing back to back with someone, as long as you're both equally leaning into each other, you will balance. You will complete each other. It will be beautiful, right? If one of you is kind of trying to do the nice thing, like, oh, I'll just carry you, you're going to collapse. The structure will collapse, right? It's true of relationships. It's true of everything.
Yeah.
and yet it is so hard, right? You know, society, blah, 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 blah. So your advice is so profound and so beautiful. And I hope we continue to see and witness and enjoy more and more and more of Sid pushing back. Yoo-hoo!
I promise.
This has been such a joy. Thank you so, so, so much, darling. And please stay on the line for a moment. But listeners out there, Sid, my love, where can we see you? When are you coming to London? Tell us the London
Oh my
dates. You,
goodness.
oh, sorry, if you don't, do you have it?
I don't have them memorized, but we're
Don't
going to
worry.
be around. We're not so far. We'll be in Milton Keynes. We'll be in Oxford, which is not too far. We'll be also, give me a second, in Wimbledon. That's a nice close location. But I'll send you through the dates that are closest to London.
Amazing. Listen, I'll put it all in the show notes, so don't you guys worry. We'll also put like Sid's like Instagram, etc., because you are just such a delight. And I'm so grateful we got to spend this time together. And again, like we literally like homed, like we lived in the same house for like 3 weeks or something, barely saw each other, and now this is the first time we've spent an entire hour together. Isn't life beautiful?
That we needed a Zoom link to do this.
I know, I love it. I love it. We're like, let's get a Zoom. Listeners out there, this was a delight. Sit, stay on the line. Thank you. Thank you.